Since you're a single mother, you must be uneducated. Don't make me laugh by thinking that trash like you, who didn't even graduate from a prestigious university, can marry into our family. Dad. That's enough. My daughter graduated from Oxford. What? That's when my younger brother, Michael, appeared. My name is Emily, and I'm 52 years old. I currently work in accounting for a small design company. When I was young, my father passed away, and my mother worked tirelessly at a nearby factory. My father, who was self-employed, left a decent amount of assets for my mother before he died. However, she didn't waste it and saved it for our future. I have a younger brother named Michael, who is 2 years younger than me. He was quite a handful, but seeing our mother's hard work, I decided to focus on my studies from elementary school. At that time, many women were housewives, so it was rare for a mother to work outside the home. But she enjoyed working and often said that my generation would see a time when women could contribute to society, even internationally. There were few single-parent families in our area, and my mother always said she didn't want us to feel ashamed. However, in reality, we had few friends and often felt isolated at school. To help our busy mother, I did as much housework as possible. The housewives in the neighborhood would gossip loudly, saying we were miserable. But I ignored their words and focused on preparing dinner for my mother and brother. Even though my mother assured us that we had enough money, shopping for groceries in the evening made me realize how important money was for living. Sometimes I would send Michael to do the shopping so he could learn about money as well. We didn't live like misers. But my mother's smile when she attended school events in her work clothes shone brighter than any other mother's dressed-up outfits. Over time, Michael became less troublesome and joined the reading extracurricular activity in upper elementary, reading many books. I also read a lot of books. The world of books was fascinating. Compared to the silly gossip of the housewives gathered for their chats, history and foreign lands seemed vast and intriguing. People in the shopping district, where we often helped out, recognized us and would kindly greet us, sometimes giving us extra treats secretly. When shopping with my mother on Sundays, she always thanked them. In middle school, I started learning French and loved it. When I told my mother, she bought me a French conversation practice set, which was on cassette tapes back then. And Michael was also very interested. Since we were from a single-parent household, we often heard other kids' parents would get angry if they played with us. So we didn't have many friends. Instead, we stayed close as siblings. We didn't know our mother had my father's inheritance until we were older, and we lived modestly, often thought of as poor by our neighbors. My mother did physically demanding work and would come home covered in dirt, so I always made sure she could take a bath as soon as she got home. And I cooked dinner with Michael without joining any extracurricular activities. We often made simple dishes like curry or stew, but she always said it was delicious. Then one day, she suggested I join supplemental classes for studying. Our grades weren't particularly bad, but we were just average students. So, she enrolled both me and my younger brother, who was still in elementary school, in supplemental classes. We weren't great at sports but enjoyed studying, and our grades improved steadily. Then we received a call from my grandmother in New York, our father's hometown. She told us that my father's brother's wife had passed away. I barely remembered my father and didn't know he had a brother, so this was a surprise. We attended the funeral, and afterwards, my father's brother, who was busy with work, asked my mother to care for our elderly grandmother. My mother decided to leave her factory job, and we moved to my father's family home. Though we were anxious about living in a new place, neither Michael nor I had close friends where we were, so we didn't feel particularly sad. It was just before I started 9th grade and Michael entered middle school. My uncle assured my mother that we wouldn't have to worry about living expenses. We transferred schools, Michael started middle school. And my mother took care of our frail grandmother. Our new house was old but a single-family home, and our rooms were sunny on the second floor. Though it took time to make new friends, I continued to help with household chores and cooking with Michael. On Sundays, my mother taught us how to make dishes like beef stew, which our grandmother and uncle enjoyed. They were both very kind and fond of us. My uncle, a high school teacher, would help us with our studies when he had time. Our grandmother thanked my mother for raising us well. I also helped with her laundry. Michael became skilled at cooking, and we continued to spend our days focusing on shopping, housework, and studying rather than playing with friends. I chose to attend a vocational high school and was accepted. I dreamed of one day working in a job where I could use my love for French. At school, I studied typing and bookkeeping and earned a bookkeeping certification. Thanks to my uncle's tutoring, I excelled in my high school studies and ranked among the top students. Michael, my younger brother, also helped with household chores but made many friends and enjoyed his time in middle school. He was also good at studying and often did homework with his friends at our house or attended supplemental classes with them. Through our studies, both of us, once rather reserved, started to make friends, and even though our mother was exhausted from caregiving, we became brighter and more cheerful. My uncle and his wife had no children, and it occurred to me that I was my grandmother's first grandchild. My uncle advised us that, as times were changing, we should both aim to graduate from college. Since Michael and I both liked studying, I focused on preparing for college entrance exams during my second year of high school. Attending summer courses at my uncle's recommendation, and studying late into the night. I ended up being accepted to the prestigious Harvard University. Both my mother and grandmother were overjoyed, and my uncle took us out to a fancy restaurant to celebrate. Michael, inspired by my achievement, declared that he would follow in my footsteps, and we laughed together. When he also got accepted to Harvard, I was moved to tears. However, around that time, my grandmother passed away from old age. The funeral went smoothly, but my mother, who had been putting on a brave face, ended up hospitalized from exhaustion afterward. Michael and I visited her every day. My uncle, grateful for everything she had done, covered all the hospital expenses. 1 year after my grandmother's death, my uncle remarried, and the house was passed on to my mother along with my grandmother's inheritance. Wanting to spare my mother from further hardship, Michael and I took on part-time jobs while she became a full-time homemaker. At college, I made a close friend named Jennifer. Although I had a crush on a boy, we both dealt with unrequited feelings, and when we weren't working, Jennifer and I would go out for meals or watch movies, sharing our family stories. Her strict parents had forced her to study from a young age, and she had never dated a boy. She discovered she was adopted when she found her mother's notebook in 5th grade. Though she wanted to play sports, her parents disapproved, and she had to obey them. I shared my experiences of growing up in a single-parent household. One day, the boy I had a crush on suddenly confessed his feelings to me. I was surprised but immediately said yes. His name was Mark. We started meeting on days when we didn't have part-time jobs, and our relationship deepened. I advised my best friend, Jennifer, to confess her feelings to her crush as well. However, as graduation approached, her parents arranged a marriage for her. Though she wasn't very enthusiastic about it, she got married right after graduation. I thought it was a shame that she got married right after graduating from Harvard. She had a dream of becoming a lawyer, so she decided to become a full-time housewife and pursue that path. My relationship with Mark was going well, and since we both loved French, we joined different international companies. Michael continued to work as a tutor while also mastering French. Around that time, our mother was diagnosed with cancer. By the time she was hospitalized, the disease had progressed significantly, and unfortunately, she passed away. Michael took on the role of head of the family and organized a small funeral with our uncle and his wife. He took some time off from college, and we ended up living together in the house. I was doing my best at my new job, but overwhelmed with grief, I took a leave of absence. Mark was very supportive during this time, looking out for us. Although I had just started my job, my uncle asked if I would work as an accounting manager at his new wife's father's company. And after settling down, I decided to make the switch. The salary was the same as my previous job, so I didn't struggle financially. Michael also settled down, graduated, and started working at an international company. I didn't want to keep grieving, feeling it would be unfair to our mother. We had our house, and before her death, my mother had taken care of the inheritance paperwork to pass on my father's assets to us. At 24, Mark proposed to me, and we got married. He had also lost his parents and grown up in an orphanage. We had a small wedding in Hawaii. We rented an apartment and I moved out of the house where we had lived for so long. Michael also moved closer to his company, and we decided to turn the inherited house into a parking lot with our uncle's help. So, my brother and I split the passive income from our inheritance. Michael worked diligently and even started his own advertising company. My husband had frequent overseas assignments, so I continued my accounting job while studying for my CPA certification at night. Though I didn't use much of my French skills, I was grateful for my uncle's support. And I thought getting a CPA certification would also benefit his wife's company. Michael had many friends since middle school, while I managed to make a few friends, but I struggled with communication. Quitting my job at the international company might have been a good decision. Michael was the opposite of me and had great communication skills. I wanted children, but my husband was busy, and it was difficult for us to conceive. During that time, Michael met someone and got married. He was blessed with a very cute daughter named Lily. She was my niece, and I celebrated with them and got to hold her just once. Michael bought a house and lived happily with his family. His mother-in-law lived nearby and helped with childcare, which allowed me to focus on obtaining my CPA certification and handling the company's accounting, including the year-end financials. My uncle was pleased with my achievements. I didn't plan to start my own CPA practice. Michael's wife handled the accounting for his company, and I only helped with the year-end financials. However, it provided some extra income, and when my husband returned from overseas, we enjoyed dining out and spending time together. Michael's advertising company grew steadily, hiring more employees and staying busy. Around this time, I found out I was pregnant and gave birth to a lovely daughter named Mia. My husband was overjoyed and even shed tears of happiness. Mia grew up healthy and strong. I continued to handle the year-end financials for both Michael's company and the company I had worked for, while managing my household. Mia was quite attached to me and struggled to fit in at her kindergarten. She resembled me in that she was shy around others. I enrolled her in a private kindergarten. During her kindergarten years, she enjoyed the picture books I read to her, including the French ones I bought. Though I had no intention of pushing her into a rigorous education, she was always curious and loved books, just like me. I sometimes spoke French with Mia, and she picked it up quickly. Even in elementary school, she excelled in all subjects, including language arts and math, achieving perfect scores. She struggled with physical education, just like I did. By the 3rd grade, Mia had mastered French conversation. When I had her take an IQ test out of curiosity, she scored an impressive 180. Despite this, she found conversations with her peers boring and preferred reading books at home after school. She found schoolwork dull. So I bought her middle school level textbooks, which she eagerly devoured. I struggled to get into Harvard, but I thought she might be able to do it too. Then, my husband mentioned he had a business trip to France and said we could join him for 2 weeks. Mia was on summer vacation. And although it was my first time traveling abroad, he handled all the arrangements, and we spent 2 weeks in France. He conversed fluently in business French. I had also studied business French, but it felt nostalgic and quite different from conversational French. Mia quickly noticed the difference and curiously asked me many questions. We had a family dinner with one of my husband's clients, and I joined in the conversation a bit. Mia participated too, and the client was very fond of her, which helped seal the business deal. My husband was delighted and, upon returning to the company, was promoted to manager at the young age of 32. However, when Mia was in the 6th grade, he tragically died in a car accident at the age of 35. Mia, like me, became a daughter in a single-parent family. His company colleagues attended the funeral in large numbers. Mia lost her beloved father and withdrew emotionally for a while. I felt the same way. I was so distraught that I couldn't eat or sleep, even though I knew I needed to be strong for Mia. Michael, concerned for us, brought me to a psychiatrist, and his wife was very supportive. Slowly, after some time, I began to eat and sleep better. Michael suggested we move closer to him, so I rented an apartment nearby. Living in our old home felt as if my husband would walk through the door at any moment. We took only our most precious belongings, including our wedding photos and Mia's albums, and returned the keys to our longtime home. Michael's daughter, Lily, and Mia, though 3 years apart, became close like sisters, helping Mia gradually regain her spirit. When Mia started middle school, I began working as an accountant for Michael's subsidiary. It was a small advertising company, but of course, I could handle the year-end financials. I arranged to work part-time until 3 p.m. to avoid leaving Mia feeling lonely. I remembered the typing skills I learned in school, so using a computer was easy for me. I bought Mia a computer and only had to teach her once. She quickly learned and happily started exploring the internet. Michael had friends from our time working at international companies who now lived in England, and his daughter Lily went to high school there. Mia missed Lily, who was like a sister to her, but they stayed connected through the internet and often talked on Skype. She was learning various languages, and even in middle school, she remained curious and found schoolwork boring. Without much studying, she excelled in all subjects except for physical education. I often reminisced about my student days with Michael, working hard to achieve our goals. The era of flip phones ended, giving way to the age of smartphones. During summer vacation, Mia spent a lot of time on her computer, showing great interest in different cultures and design. She occasionally visited my company, offering design ideas that Michael quickly adopted. Since her French was already excellent, I suggested she master business French. She started learning it online and enjoyed it, remembering how interesting her father's French was. She mastered it at an impressive speed. During a Skype call, Lily suggested, "Why don't you come to high school here? It's really fun." Mia replied, "Really? I'll talk to my mom about it," and was invited to study in England. I fully supported the idea. Michael also encouraged her, knowing she would be safe with Lily, and she went to high school in England. I sometimes had Skype calls with Mia and Lily, the three of us chatting together. Mia was lively and cheerful, which reassured me. I began working full-time at Michael's subsidiary, and Mia would send us videos and pictures of her life and designs from England. Her grades were excellent, and she was accepted into the prestigious Oxford University. I was astonished. With the ability to connect to the internet from anywhere in the world, I never felt lonely. Lily later got a job in England, married internationally, and returned home once with her husband and adorable daughter. Michael and his wife, Lily, and her husband, Mia, and I went on a nearby trip together. Michael looked happy holding his blonde-haired, blue-eyed first grandchild. Lily's husband enjoyed the trip, and the four of them returned to England. Mia stayed with Lily's family and, after graduating from university, returned home. "Are you not going to work for an international company?" I asked. "No, I don't want to leave you alone," she replied and started working as an office clerk at the same company as me. One day, Michael asked, "The new employee at the head office is struggling with business French. Could you ask Mia to help?" So, Mia started an online business as a business French instructor. She rented a virtual office and worked from home. During this time, she bought a small car and enjoyed driving. One day, she was tailgated by a van, panicked, and collided with a truck ahead of her when the van crashed into her from behind. Although she survived, she fractured her leg. She immediately called the police and showed them the dashcam footage of the van tailgating her, but the van's owner was uninsured, leading to a dispute over damages. When she called me, I was almost paralyzed with panic, remembering my husband's accident. I rushed to the hospital, where she was diagnosed with a fractured ankle but didn't require hospitalization, though she needed 3 months to recover. Since her work was computer-based, it didn't impact her job, but she hired a lawyer for the compensation claim. The lawyer, who was very kind, came to our home and demanded compensation for medical expenses and the emotional distress caused by the tailgating, asking for $10,000 in damages. This happened when Mia was 25 years old. Thanks to the lawyer's negotiation, she received the settlement. The lawyer, a 30-year-old named James, seemed to have fallen in love with Mia at first sight. A month later, James called her personally, and once she could walk again, he invited her to dinner and confessed his feelings. They began dating. He was a refreshing young man, and I thought he was a good match for her. Their relationship deepened, but Mia never mentioned the university she graduated from. She downplayed her achievements, telling James that she was just working from home on design projects. When I asked her why, she said, "I don't want people to think I'm too smart and end up with no friends, like in elementary school. I just want to live a normal life." I understood that her academic abilities had made it difficult for her to make friends during elementary and middle school, causing her silent suffering. It must have been tough for her. They shared a love of movies and enjoyed their relationship. Eventually, James proposed to Mia. They started visiting each other's homes more frequently, but James's father disapproved of Mia because she came from a single-parent household. There was a meeting arranged for both families at an upscale restaurant. James's father said, "Since you come from a single-parent household, you must be uneducated. It's laughable to think someone who didn't graduate from a prestigious university could marry into our family." Dad. Enough already. I received the business card from him and realized he was the legal advisor for my brother's company. James's mother remained silent. Our entire family is composed of lawyers. Having a daughter-in-law without an education is a disgrace. This is our marriage. Enough already. We stayed silent for a while, but then Mia suddenly spoke up, "Isn't the job of a lawyer to help those in need? What does family background or education have to do with that? What did you say, you little girl?" She had learned to speak her mind during her long stay in England. There was a prolonged silence, and Mia stared at the business card. "Excuse us for a moment." I said that and then stepped out with Mia. I suggested that she reveal her academic background, but she was clearly angry. I called my brother for advice, and he said he was nearby and would come right away. I wanted Mia to be happy. "Mom, Michael is going to be furious." "Yes. I'll tell him first. If you think that's best, go ahead." She agreed, and we returned to our seats. "I'm sorry for the interruption. So, if my daughter doesn't have an education, you'll break off the engagement?" "Of course. And on top of that, she's from a single-parent household. She didn't finish high school in the US, that's true. But she graduated from Oxford." "What? What? What?" As I said that, silence fell again. Just then, my brother entered the room. "Excuse me." "Oh, Mr. Anderson." "Robert, I was also raised by a single mother. Is there a problem with that? I never thought you were this kind of person. Mia is my beloved niece. And her mother is my sister. Both of us graduated from Harvard despite our single-parent upbringing. I can't accept that you value academic background and family environment so highly. Our business relationship is over," Michael declared. "Mr. Anderson, please. I'm truly sorry." He apologized deeply, but my brother did not forgive him. "Dad, isn't marriage supposed to be a personal choice? There's no law against it. I'm fed up with you. I'm cutting ties," James declared. His father looked defeated by James's words. My brother excused himself and left the room. "Let us take some time to think this over. We'll be leaving now." With that, we also left the restaurant. 3 days later, James contacted Mia again. She explained why she had kept her educational background a secret. He understood and decided to cut ties with his father. His mother also decided to divorce her husband. James and Mia got married in Hawaii, just like I did years ago. A year later, Mia said she didn't want to leave me alone, so I used the savings I had kept secret to build a 2-family home. I put it under Mia's name. To my surprise, James's mother turned out to be my old friend, Jennifer, from my days at Harvard University. It was a strange coincidence. James bought a condo near our home for Jennifer, and his father was left alone. Later, Mia safely gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Jennifer said that after her arranged marriage, she had been tormented by her mother-in-law. She decided to go through with the divorce thanks to Mia's wedding. Now that she is free from her mother-in-law, Jennifer and I enjoy spending time together, just like old times. Surrounded by the kind James, my daughter, and my grandson, we live happily in a beautiful new home. My life has been full of ups and downs, but Mia and my grandson's smiles heal me, and I vowed to continue living strong.